Hi guys, and welcome back to another maths lesson on time with Miss Shah. Okay, so for today's session you're going to need a pencil, paper and to access the worksheet dated today's date from the website, but that's not necessary right now, as you can get that at the end when you're sure which challenge you want to complete. Thank you to everybody that sent their work over. Please make sure you're all sending your work over to get your class shot points, and for your work to be put in a shout out video and recognized. Today's session you're going to be able to understand time, so we're just going to understand time a bit further and understand 24 hours and the 12 hours a bit more. It is important to tell time, but then it's also important to understand the clock. So now that you know when you're reading, or reading a clock or reading time or telling time, you can now understand why we do it in such way. Okay, so let's recap some of the things that we did yesterday. So from yesterday's lesson, you should be able to tell me the time for the next few clocks. So what time is it here? Pause the video, just shout it out. Well done, it's 9:30. What time is it here? Well done, it's 2:00. What time is it here? It's 10 to 12. Excellent. And what time is it here? 7:25. Well, okay, so today we're going to look at the 24-hour day. A day has 24 hours, a clock has 12. This means each time will happen twice every day. 2:30 in the morning, and then we have 2:30 in the afternoon. The morning is usually when we're all asleep. AM and PM. We have to use a way to write these times differently. One way is to use AM and PM. So AM stands for ante-meridian, before noon, and PM stands for post-meridian, which is afternoon, 2:30 AM and 2:30 PM. Another way is to use a 24-hour clock. This means that hours after 12 noon are converted to 1300 and to 2300. So a 4-digit format is used: 2 digits for the hour, a colon, and 2 for the minutes. Okay, so let's have a look at the 12-hour clock. So this is the clock that we usually have in our classrooms, and it starts off with, so we start off at midnight when you usually sleep, and that's referred to as 12 AM. And in the 12-hour clock, remember, we use the terms AM and PM so that we can differentiate between morning and afternoon, because it's only 12 hours in the clock, so we are able to tell whether it's like 1 o'clock in the morning or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So we go with 12 AM and then 1 AM, 2 AM, 3 AM, 4 AM, 5 AM, 6 AM, 7 AM, 8 AM, 9 AM, 10 AM, and then 11 AM. And then when you come to your lunchtime, this is when you're in school, we start to refer to that as PM. So 12 PM, 1 PM, 2 PM, so on and so forth, and it goes all the way back up to your sleep time when it's like 11 PM again. Okay, now if we look at the 24-hour clock, because there's 24 hours in a day and then there's 24 hours in the digital clock, it's a lot easier to count up, but then it can get a bit complicating working it out. So in a digital clock, this is usually on phones as well, so if you ever get a chance and you're awake until that like midnight, try to have a look at your parents' phone or something to see what it says on the phone. So midnight, we start the day off at 00:00. Okay, so it's 00:00, and then it's 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. And then when it comes to your lunchtime, like we do in school, it comes to 12 o'clock. And then, as you can also see on the clock in the photo over there, then when it comes to 1 o'clock, we refer to that as 1300 hours, and then 14, and then 1500 hours, and then 1600, and 1700 hours, and then 1800, 19, 20, 21, 22, and 23. So if you look at the example on the clock to your left hand side, you also see that in the 24 hours, what 1 is referred to, and then next to 2 is 14, next to 3 is 15, and then that's how it also goes. So next slide here over here, the 24-hour clock is compared to the 12-hour clock, so you're able to see what it looks like in the 24-hour clock and then what it looks like in the 12 hours. So 12-hour clock, 12 a.m. is in the 24-hour clock, 12 a.m. is 0, and then 1 o'clock, and so on and so forth. So pause the video for around a minute and just have a look at the differences in the 24-hour clock and then in the 12-hour clock. Okay, so 24-hour time in the morning. To convert between 12 and 24-hour time in the morning, change the format. So 6 a.m. becomes 0600, and then 10:30 becomes 10:30 a.m. Remember, we need to add the AM and PM if you're going to use the 12-hour clock, or if you're going to refer to AM or PM. The hour stays the same. Okay, so 24-hour time in the afternoon. To convert between 12 and 24-hour time in the afternoon, you need to add or subtract 12 hours and change the format. So if you're going to convert from the 12-hour clock to the 24-hour clock, you need to add 12, because 12 plus 12 is 24. So 6 p.m. you add 12, and then the digital clock, it should be 1800 hours. But if you're going to convert 24 hours into the 12-hour clock, you need to subtract. So you go the opposite way. So 2230 take away 12 gives you 1030. So that gives you 10:30 in the analog clock. So remember to add if you're converting 12 to 24, and take away if you're going to convert 24 to 12. So here are a few examples of the 12-hour clock converted into the 24-hour digital clock. So as you can see, the 12-hour clock has the AM and PM next to it. Why do you think that is? Well done. It's to identify or to indicate whether it's in the morning or in the afternoon, because a 12-hour clock only has 12 hours, whereas how many hours do we have in a day? 24. Well done. And then have a look at this one, converting between 24 hours and 12 hours. So with time, it's just making sure you're reading accurately. And like in any other everyday problem, maths is always involved. Adding and subtracting is always involved. So here you're having to add, subtract, and work out as well. So here are examples of 24 to 12 hours. Okay, transport times tables often use 24-hour times. Here's an example of a bus timetable. So Ecclesfield, Mill Road, and then so on and so forth. This is bus 83A, and then that's the time, 83A, 83, and then that's how usually bus timetables are set up. Sometimes 24-hour clock appears without the separating colon. Here's what bus timetables might look like without a colon. So a colon is the 2 dots. You should all know that. If you don't, that's fine. Now you do. So it's the same timetable as the other one, just without the colons. It's very confusing. It just looks like a lot of numbers, but It's just the colons that need to be added. Okay, so 12 and 24-hour clock times. So 12-hour midnight is 12 a.m. and then the 24-hour clock it's 0 hours, and then a.m. 5:15 a.m. and then as you can see the other examples as well. Guys, if you guys are still a bit unsure about understanding 24-hour and 12-hour digit clocks, I do think it's quite a complicated topic. So what you could do is watch this video. It is a bit of a long video, but I think it's really helpful if you watch it to help you further your understanding on how to use clocks or to better understand the 24 and 12-hour clock. Okay, so your task for today is to go on the website and complete challenge 1 or challenge 2 called Clockwork 0, and it's dated. Make sure you're looking at the correct date for the worksheets. Reading clocks is a bit confusing, but hopefully you get to learn to read a clock by the end of this unit.